In this video, I'm going to be talking a little bit about self-sabotage and what that feeling actually looks like and how we can get around that, and know that it's a bit of a normal process when you're on your way to either losing weight or getting in better health. So let's get into it. First up, self-sabotage can be pretty tricky to navigate, and usually it's something where you'll experience it where you've had a really good couple of weeks or maybe a really good couple of months, and that feeling tends to creep back in where you're like, well, I feel really good about my progress. Just one of these won't hurt, or just one of that won't hurt, or just this event isn't going to hurt, right? And you end up slipping down that track and the self-sabotage kicks in, and then it's really hard to get back on track. So what is self-sabotage, and how can we make sure that we're prepared for it on a journey to better health? This is what this video is going to be all about, and hopefully I can explain it in a logical way. If you have any comments about this, please leave them below and I'll help you maybe navigate this yourself as well. So basically, if you are looking to lose weight, or you may be looking to get in better shape, or maybe you're looking to get in better health, then a ketogenic diet can be a fantastic way to do this, but not for everyone. A ketogenic diet is great because you get a lot of your energy from fat as opposed to carbohydrates, but the rules are still the same. You still need to eat the same amount of protein as anyone else, and you need to make sure that all of your nutrition is balanced and you're still getting the right micronutrients and all the macronutrients, and you're still optimizing for your sleep and your stress and your digestive health and all of those things. So you just need to remember that self-sabotage is a tiny piece of a much bigger journey, but I want to help you with this little bit so that maybe if you're struggling with self-sabotage, you can put this little piece into the puzzle and it helps the whole thing. So self-sabotage basically comes from maybe a past feeling or a past version of yourself that has previously had success, or maybe you've previously lost weight and you've had that really good feeling. You've had that feeling of success. You've had that feeling of, wow, I can actually do this. And you've had that feeling where it's like, well, this is really easy, right? This way of losing weight is really easy. And this time, maybe it's been a little bit harder, or maybe you've jumped into this with a different approach and it's working really well for you, but that self-sabotage is sort of lingering in the back of your brain going, I think that there's going to be some hard weeks or some hard moments here, and you may not be able to do this, right? So that self-sabotage is always going to be there, and we let that know that, hey, look, it's there. We're just acknowledging the fact that self-sabotage is always going to be around, and how do we deal with it? Well, in change and in growth and in any journey, you don't want to be the same person who weighed whatever you previously weighed when you get to your new weight. Or you don't want to be the same person who was struggling with their health when you get to your newfound health, because that same person had the same habits and the same patterns that got you there in the first place. You need to have new patterns and new behaviors and new ways of doing things to be able to push you in the right direction. So that change or that process is going to be pretty tricky, and it's not for everyone. As if everyone found that process easy, then everyone would be in really good shape. But unfortunately, a lot of the times we just get stuck in this little circle that we tend to live our lives and the routines and the habits and whatever. And those things tend to prevent us from getting to good health in the first place. So that journey towards better health, you're going to have these times where you're stretching your boundary, you're feeling uncomfortable, and you're seeing change, right? And then in that same process, you will be feeling regression, and you'll be feeling like, this is really hard, I can't do this. And that's normal, because in change, you will always go forward and then take a couple of steps back, and go forward and take a couple of steps back. Now, what you don't want to do is, in that regression phase, you don't want to let that self-sabotage kick in, because what happens is that if you're moving along that barrier and you're seeing really great progress, and then maybe a week or two where you're seeing backwards progress, in that phase, you know that there's another progress week or month coming after that. So that's going to prepare you for okay, I've been doing all the things that I've been trying to do, and maybe it's not working, or maybe it's just not working this week. And what am I doing wrong? What am I doing that's, getting me to this point where I'm not seeing results anymore? You just need to know in that phase, your body's preparing you for another growth phase, or your mind is preparing you for another growth phase. So don't let it slip during that time, because it's always going to be there. It's part of change. It's part of that process. And you need to get really comfortable with feeling uncomfortable, because uncomfortable is going to get you out of your habits and your routines and, the behavior that puts you in that spot where you're trying to get out of. So self-sabotage can really eat at you in that particular point and say, hey, you haven't seen progress on the scale for a week or two. You haven't seen your measurements change for a week or two. Your sleep's getting worse. What's going wrong? Maybe you should just give up, because, all of this is just too hard anyway. Everyone else is not doing it and they're seeing great results. So why bother? That's self-sabotage, and that's going to be there, and it's going to ruin your progress if you let it take over. So you just need to know that there will be weeks where you go backwards, but it is preparing you for those weeks that are going to be moving you even further forward. Also, self-sabotage can kind of come from past behaviors or patterns, or even scenarios that have happened to you. So I've worked with a lot of clients who have maybe experienced sexual abuse in their past, and they're trying to, use their health or their weight as a bit of a protective mechanism, right? And when they lose the weight initially, it feels really good because they're moving away from that person, they're moving away from who that used to be. And then they kind of get to the point where they get pretty close to their goal, but then the self-sabotage kind of kicks in, and maybe some of those emotions start to flare up where it's from the past, or from trauma in the past potentially, or even just from scenarios, from bullies, or from, your childhood, or from, your adolescence, or just from whenever there has been trauma in your life. You will come across those when you go through a health journey. And it's going to be difficult because you feel like that weight has become a bit of a protective mechanism, or you feel that your health has become that barrier towards what you want in the future. And you know that, hey, if I push through this, I may experience that same result that I had in the past. And self-sabotage is part of that, but I guess that's a bigger picture, and that's a bigger, more in-depth understanding. And if you have a psychologist, it's really good to work with them on that. But just know that on a journey to better health, you will probably experience some of those feelings or emotions that you have experienced in the past, but you are a much stronger person now. And every time you get back up, so if you fall down, doesn't matter. Every time you get back up, you get stronger, you get more willing, and you are signaling to your body to say, hey, this is the process that's sticking. We're actually doing this. Don't let me fail. And that can be a really important step to that next growth phase. Now, having someone on your side, or having a health coach, or having someone like me who can point you in the right direction or understand what's actually going on with you at that point in time can be really helpful. I've worked with hundreds of clients who have had those particular failures, or maybe who have had those self-sabotage moments, right? And it's really nice to know that it's all part of the process, and it's not something that you feel alienated about, or like no one talks about this online. No one talks about the really hard times of losing weight. Maybe the Will Smith, YouTube documentary documented that a little bit, but it's hard. It's really hard to get in good health, and it's really hard to lose weight because of those mental challenges that you go through. So as I was talking about self-sabotage, it can kind of come from two phases: that you maybe are preventing yourself from seeing success, or you are experiencing those growth phases and you're regressing slightly just so that you can push forward into that next growth phase, and you know that that's coming. So I hope that helps. If you have any questions about this, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. If this really resonated with you, I'd love you to share it with a friend or a colleague or someone, just the sharing of knowledge and would help from this shared knowledge. So I hope that really helps. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. But in the meantime, good luck.